Guys, the Apple event is tomorrow. I'm very excited and the leaks are coming in thick and fast. Over the weekend, we got a fresh batch of leaks that make this year's iPhone 17 launch sound even bigger than we thought. First up, cases. Leaker Majimbu shared what he claims are images of Apple's redesigned clear case for iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, or at least some very convincing replicas. Compared to the 16 Pro clear case, there are three major changes. The camera cutout is absolutely massive, stretching across the width of the device, which lines up perfectly with rumours of that larger telephoto system coming to the Pro. The MagSafe ring has been reworked too, shifting from the classic circle and line design to a new white rounded rectangle. Now the inside of the case still has the ring, but it's not visible on the outside, and honestly I'm unsure what the point of a clear case is if half the case is covered. Anyway, interestingly enough, the case also seems to support Apple's rumoured Crossbody Strap, a brand new accessory we'll get into properly in a moment. Apparently Apple also tested tinted versions of the clear case, which could arrive later if they don't launch right away. I wouldn't mind translucent cases, but still a little perplexed by this decision to just cover the MagSafe ring. The accessories aren't the only thing changing though. We've also had a big hint that Apple's about to pull the trigger on eSIM-only iPhones in more countries this year. According to Mac Rumors, Apple authorized reseller staff in the EU have been told to complete training on eSIM-only iPhones by Friday the 5th of September, just 4 days before the event. That timing feels way too perfect to be a coincidence. We already know the US has been eSIM only since the iPhone 14, but Europe could be next in line, and analyst Minchuko has even suggested the ultra-thin 17 Air won't have space for a SIM tray at all, meaning it's digital only worldwide. The Pro and standard 17 models are also expected to follow suit, with maybe a few exceptions like China, where Apple tends to keep features around for a little longer for regulatory reasons. Apple's argument here is straightforward. eSIMs are more secure because you can't just yank one out of a stolen phone, and you can store multiple numbers without fiddling with plastic cards. But for travelers, it is a bit of a hassle now. You'll definitely want to check your carrier support list before upgrading, otherwise you could be left scrambling to connect when you land. Also, I'm pretty sure my carrier here in the UK doesn't support eSIMs, though I guess once the 17 Air launches, all carriers in the UK will be forced to adopt eSIM support, or else they're going to lose a bunch of customers. If you're enjoying this breakdown, by the way, I want to stay ahead of all the announcements from Apple's September event. Make sure you hit subscribe. I'll be posting deep dives into every single iPhone 17 model, so subscribing now means you won't miss a thing. I'm pushing towards 20,000 subscribers, so every sub counts. Coming back to accessories, I earlier had mentioned the Crossbody Strap, and you might be wondering what exactly is this new strap? Well, this isn't your typical strap with hooks and clips. Instead, it reportedly features a flexible metal core that makes it magnetic across its entire length. At the ends, the rings are polarized in opposite directions, so they snap shut and hold together. In other words, it's just magnets doing all the work. Though I'm not exactly sure how secure that's going to be. I live in London, and with phone snatchings becoming more common, I'd want something a little more reliable than a magnetic snap to keep my phone safe. Still, it's a new market for Apple, and early samples are apparently made from woven nylon, very similar to smart loop bands for the Apple Watch. A silicone version could also be coming, which would make it more minimalistic. What's more interesting is that while the crossbody strap is designed primarily for Apple's own iPhone 17 cases, it could also be compatible with the upcoming AirPods Pro 3. Remember, AirPods Pro 2 already came with a lanyard hole, so Apple seems to be leaning into this idea of wearable accessories across multiple devices. Production of the strap is said to have already started, so this could be a day one accessory at launch. And as much as I personally don't care about straps, I know there is a huge market for them in places like Asia, where carrying a phone around your body is more of a lifestyle trend. Apple knows its global market well, and this is another sign they're pushing iPhones deeper into fashion territory, because Apple's really always been a lifestyle brand. Now let's move on to features, starting with one of the most anticipated, reverse wireless charging. This rumor has been floating around for years, but multiple leakers now claim it's finally happening with the 17 Pro and Pro Max. Imagine topping your AirPods case just by placing it on the back of your phone. That's pretty slick. Apple's already laid the groundwork. The MagSafe battery pack could actually receive power back from the iPhone when plugged in, and with Type-C on the iPhone 15, you can reverse charge small accessories at up to 4.5 watts. But if this year brings true wireless reverse charging, that's a huge quality of life upgrade. Apple will most certainly frame it around convenience, fewer chargers, fewer cables, and more freedom to keep your accessories powered directly from your phone. Samsung and other rivals already do this, so Apple probably feels the pressure to finally match them. Now onto cameras, and one of the biggest upgrades could be reserved for the Pro Max allegedly, but I'm hoping both Pro phones get this. According to leaker Instant Digital, Apple's testing a 48MP telephoto lens with true variable zoom, meaning it can seamlessly switch between 5x and 8x optical zoom. Compare that with today's iPhone 16 Pro Max, which caps out 5x with a fixed focal length, and this would be a huge upgrade. If Apple delivers this, it would put them directly up against Samsung's best periscope cameras, and maybe even ahead. And leaked internal images back this up as well, showing a noticeably larger camera bump this year. That extra space could be exactly what Apple needs to fit the moving lens components for variable zoom. A proper multifocal telephoto inside an iPhone would be a massive leap forwards, and would be a huge selling point for the Pro phones. While we're talking about internals, let's talk about another leak that hasn't gotten enough attention. Leaked photos showed the iPhone 17 Pro Max using a metal covered battery, building on what we saw in last year's 16 Pro. This metal shell isn't just cosmetic, it helps dissipate heat more efficiently, which pairs perfectly with rumours of Apple finally adopting vapor chamber cooling. Design-wise, don't expect radical changes. The 17 series still has a dynamic island, Type-C, and the familiar squared-off look, but two upgrades stand out. First, thinner bezels across the entire range, not just the Pros. Second, the Pro phones will get a new anti-reflective display layer similar to Gorilla Glass armor on Samsung phones. This should make a big difference outdoors, where reflections often wash out the screen. Now onto storage and pricing, two areas Apple always sparks debate. Last year, the base storage on the 16 Pro was still 128 gigs, which wasn't enough in 2024. Thankfully, this year, Apple's finally moving the Pro models up to 256 gigs as the baseline. The catch? A $50 price increase across the board. That means $849 for the 17, $949 for the Air, $1049 for the Pro, and $1249 for the Pro Max. Not cheap, but here's the silver lining. A 256 Pro at $1049 is actually less than what you pay for a 256 Pro today, which costs $1099. And finally, colors, because let's be honest, colors help sell iPhones as much as specs do. The 17 Pro models are expected to come in black, white, grey, dark blue, and a striking orange that could be this year's hero colour. The 17 Air is rumoured to come in a pale light blue, so white it almost looks white in certain lighting. Aluminium's also coming to the Pro phones instead of titanium, and aluminium is much easier to colour, so expect richer, more vibrant finishes overall. Also, D brands actually already released their cases for iPhone 17 and show us the new design, and it basically confirms everything we've heard. So stepping back for a sec, the 17 Pro lineup is all about polishing the formula. We're looking at a new variable zoom telephoto lens, better thermal management, reverse wireless charging, brighter anti-reflective displays, bolder colors, and new cases with support for new accessories like the Crossbody Strap. The 17 Air takes a completely different route, ultra thin, design focused, with a fresh pale blue finish, and a clear pitch to people who value design over performance. And both devices could push more people to switch to eSIMs. But I want to hear from you guys, would an eSIM-only iPhone be a deal breaker to you? And if you're in the US, have you gotten used to it, or do you still miss the beloved physical SIM card slots? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be covering Apple's September event in full with deep dives into every announcement. Thanks for watching.